Very concerning story here. Max, before I get your take, I just want to highlight an important detail as a female here on the show. My initial reaction was if these women felt uncomfortable when they got to another country, Costa Rica, and it wasn't what they signed up for, why didn't they just leave? And then I read the story in its entirety in the New York Times piece, and their passports were confiscated. That is a major red flag. That's something that happens in trafficking practices. I don't understand how they were allowed to take their passports, why they handed them over, but that leaves them vulnerable with no power, and it's completely unacceptable and egregious and really scary.
Well, I mean, why did they hand them over? Because people who are in a position of less power are sometimes intimidated. Yeah. It's we see this go on in our politics. ICE agents walking around, are you a citizen of the United States? And people answering the question until someone says, I don't have to answer that question. They say thank you and move on. But the idea is there's an implicit power differential there that intimidates the person in the position of lesser power. That's why they turn over their passports when asked.
No, I'm not blaming the women. I'm saying why were they asking for them initially? So they couldn't leave?
Well, I mean, it appears that way, right? I mean, why else would you need someone's passport? Molly, the thing about this, really, this reminds me of Eric Reed, actually, in a lot of ways, in the sense that hey, this is not, all of our cheerleaders are contractually protected in terms of a safe work environment. Well, according to the CBA, so are the NFL players in terms of standing for the national anthem. You don't have to, but if you don't, you won't have a job. So you have to if you want to play. The person. That's an abuse of power. Mm-hmm. That is an overreach. At the very least, I'm just talking technically here.
It's exploitation.
And it's about power dynamics. The women here, the cheerleaders, are disempowered, and there's pressure, obviously, to work for which they're not getting paid, right? This is kind of, if you want to be a cheerleader, you have to do this. Well, wait a minute, is it in our contract? No, but you should do this if you want to still be a cheerleader, right? And then when they get there, hey, we want you to be escorts but presuming the report is correct and accurate. We want you to be, what does that have to do with cheerleading? Oh, it's good for the business. We create a sense of, that has nothing to do with their jobs. They are being pressured, obviously. There's an implicit threat to their employment if they don't do what they want to do, do what they're told. And it's outrageous, and it shouldn't go on.
Yeah. How about the calendar shoot, though, by the way? So, you're posing in bikinis, and some of them said they were asked to be nude, and they had an audience. These men got to watch them change and pose. Like, how inappropriate can we get?
That inappropriate, apparently.
Damien?
Yeah, I'm a father of four girls, and I think
I got three.
I think what strikes me is, I watch, all my girls, they cheer, and the stage that they're at, you go from literally cheerleading being a sport, which it is. Anyone who, watches these, competitions and stuff can clearly see these girls are are athletes. But then as you rise up the ranks to, to the professional level, it takes on a whole different form. And, so my question is, this is a societal issue. We could all, slam on Dan Snyder for, a bevy of things with the Washington Redskins organization. But I'm just talking overall, Max. This goes to a bigger issue where literally you're objectifying these women in this situation where it's not a sport anymore. It's clearly not. This is a situation where you're literally using women as props for, particular situations. We got this report where they're out in Costa Rica and, they're, it seemed like contractually going out with, people that are affiliated with the organization. And it's just like, how did it deviate from its roots? We're talking about cheerleading. This has nothing to do with cheerleading. This has everything to do with just exploiting women, whether it be their looks or whatever the case may be. This has nothing to do with what they should be originally there for in the first place.
Damien, we don't have to, but part of it is selling the attraction of the opposite gender, right, to men. That is part of the marketing of cheerleading. But even if I agree, but even if we accept that as a premise, say, okay, it's consenting adults and they can sign up for that, which we don't think that should be the case. But let's take the premise that it is. What does that have to do with escorting people after work. What does that have to do with a topless photo shoot with an audience? You know, when a lot of times you'll hear men talking about these issues as it relates to women, and they say, "What? You know, I have a mother, I have a sister, I have a daughter, and why should you need that to understand this issue?" But I do have 3 daughters, and I think about one of my daughters in a position one day where they feel pressure. You can't always be there for the people you love, right? Like physically there. They're going to go out and live their own lives. And I imagine one of my daughters in a position where they feel pressured some way to make a compromise they know they shouldn't, even if it is escorting someone or something that they think, wait, this is not part of the job, this feels exploitative, and this is not what I signed up for. Even if they handle that properly and say, no, I'm not signing up for this, I'm not going to do that. It's so infuriating to think that they would even be put in that position, that the attempt to exploit them that way. Shame, once again, on the Washington franchise.
Of course. And how about making them so vulnerable that they can't leave another country because they don't have their passports? I can't believe this is really happening in 2013. Decency needs to supersede profit.